date. So it's January 1st to October 31st that we've prepared the report for. And you can see by the front page the diagram there that gives a breakdown in the percentages for our calls year to date. The largest being our false alarms at 37%, followed by motor vehicle collisions at 18%. As well, over that same time period, there hasn't been a huge decrease. Last year at this time, we had 206 response, and this year we had 201. So only a 2.4 decrease in calls, or 2.4% decrease in calls, but any downward trend is always a good trend in emergency services. Just to give a breakdown on the hours as well, there was a total of 3,628 hours dedicated to those 201 incidents. Of that, 711 or 19% were spent in the RM, while 80% were spent in the city, and 1% being that of mutual aid to neighboring departments. There was also 1,854 hours to the training. So even though our numbers are down in our members for the year, we're still down, I believe, 10 members at this point. We had a couple new folks sign up over the past month. We're still spending quite a few hours at these incidents. Regarding training, we continue our firefighting level 1 and 2 class held each Thursday evening for members of the Riding Mountain Mutual Aid District. We have several members from Dauphin as well as members from Gilbert Plains, Oka River, and St. Rose fire departments attending this weekly training here. Back in January, several members of DFD, one member of Pine River, took part in an Incident Command 200 training that we hosted here in Dauphin, delivered by the Manitoba Emergency Services College. And again, the purpose of the seminar to define the unique qualities of the Incident Command system at an event, focuses on management of single resources, and it's an excellent training opportunity for personnel that are likely to assume a supervisory position within the Incident Command system. And we believe in that training our members for the potential of assuming that role of command. Back in March, we also hosted a vehicle extrication seminar for our district and neighboring districts. So that prepares people to respond to motor vehicle collisions requiring extrication, and promotes the importance of working with trained and authorized EMS professionals, so the paramedics that we work with closely. So we take a look at vehicle safety systems, the anatomy of vehicles, hybrid vehicles, extrication tools, and the use of hand tools. And then back in April, we also hosted 2 members of Winnipeg Fire Paramedic Service who've been working for several years on an advanced fire dynamics program and an occupational hygiene program. So they came out, they instructed 2 one-day classes, and I believe we had 40 people per day that were registered for that from all across the Parkland area. The fire dynamics is the study of the fire behavior and how our fuel loads have changed in buildings that we're responding to now, and even the vehicles, with the amount of plastics and polyurethanes that are used in our homes and in vehicles, and how that has changed fire attack and fire control. And as well, the occupational hygiene is the reduction of the carcinogens and how we can get rid of those and reduce the risk to our firefighters for work-related cancers. So Winnipeg actually leads the way in Canada with a program that they've instituted on their occupational hygiene. And last year at CAFC conference for 2022, I was able to introduce the 2 speakers from Winnipeg that delivered that program to the rest of the country, and it was well received by a number of the career departments that were there as well. In April, we hosted a Pumps Basics seminar. In June, we also had a vehicle driving skills, or an emergency vehicle driving skills seminar. And the first weekend in November, which was also the weekend of the Firefighters Ball, we had a couple of members in training that weekend as well for the Pumps Advanced seminar. And we brought in firefighters from various departments across the district and beyond for those 3. Once a member has done all 3 of those components, then they're eligible to do the accredited written examination and practical examination to achieve their NFPA 1002 certification as a driver operator. So we currently have 8 people on the department that have attained that, and we have a few more that are now progressing towards it. Then in October, most recently, we hosted 40 firefighters from across the Riding Mountain Mutual Aid District for a one-day session on electric vehicle training. So the instructor based out of Banff came to Manitoba and is still making his rounds around the province. We're the second location that he was instructing in Manitoba, uh, teaching us about the electric vehicle safety regarding extrication and the fires that are associated with the lithium-ion batteries. He uses a combination of classroom theory, and he actually has a cutaway vehicle of a Tesla, which shows where the access for extrication is possible, the location of the batteries, and what our methods of control and attack may be. And then the last section under information, the request for proposal for the budgeted pumper truck was awarded to Fort Garry Fire Trucks on September 26th after having been passed by council. The price of the pumper, $788,998 plus GST. And then on Wednesday, October 11th, Deputy Chief Conrad Desmarais and I went to Winnipeg to meet with Fort Garry Fire Trucks for a pre-construction meeting. During this meeting, there were some modifications made to the truck, which will affect the price of the truck slightly. Some of the modifications include a more modern emergency lighting system. We have a neighboring department in our district that their truck is 2 years old, and they're currently spending thousands of dollars replacing the lighting system on it because it's no longer being manufactured. And that's technology. So they opted for an older system that was out there, not knowing that it would be discontinued. So we want to make sure that we have something that's going to last the lifetime of this. We've also removed some of the equipment off there so that we could add some additional storage for tools in the cabinets, but we are currently waiting on the pricing adjustments from Fort Garry Fire Trucks, and we will advise once those changes are there and how that will affect our original pricing. The last item that's on the memo, and I'll mention it now because it was in the paper, and I think it took some folks by surprise, but this new pumper was originally slated to replace our 2002 Freightliner pumper. Recently, the 2011 Spartan pumper had to go through some major repairs, and it's due to the emission system on it. So 4 years ago, we had to replace those components, and it was about $1,500. We just replaced all those components again, and it was well over $6,000 just for the parts for that. It is a first generation emissions control engine, and it has been giving us some issues. So we're looking at changing the plan that instead of the 2002, the 2011 may be worked in. We do have 2 years until the delivery of the new pumper to come up with the final decision. But there's a number of reasons why we've looked at keeping the 2002. It has twice the water capacity of the 2011, which would make it much more functional in all areas of the city and the surrounding RM where we respond. It is a commercial cabin chassis rather than a custom cabin chassis, which makes it more user-friendly or driver-friendly to the rural roads as well. And I feel that a follow-up meeting with our Protective Services Committee and our Director of Finance, that we can take a look at our capital replacement plan and not make any adjustments to the contributions that are currently there, and just adjust some of the purchases within there that could accommodate this this request or plan for the future. And that's all I have. The quick math that I was trying to do, the last new pumper that we bought was in 2011. The price that came in for this pumper 12 years later, there's been a 58% increase in the cost of fire trucks in a 12-year period. And this truck that we ordered is based on a commercial cabin chassis rather than a custom cabin chassis, which would have added an additional $200,000 onto the price of the truck. So that truck that was purchased in 2011 is based on a custom cabin chassis. So it's an ever-increasing cost to emergency services.
Thank you, Cam. Members of council, do you have any specific questions or comments or observations for the fire chief? Is Kathy frozen? Or she's sitting very, very still? I just want to make a comment, Cam, if I may. And And I know we've chatted several times over the last couple of months, and in particular, we previously talked about, this past year has been pretty tough on emergency services because of the types of responses that, the people on the department were involved in. I just wanted to know how are you guys doing? And is there anything that the city can help you with if there are things that you need to look after your people?
Thank you for that and that question, because the wellness of our firefighters, our responders, is more than just a physical wellness. It's also a mental wellness, and we want to make sure that we look after folks. And we did have an opportunity to assist one of our members with a retreat that was focused on the mental wellness. And I thank council for their support in that. And I think that's maybe one of the things that we may consider more for our budget for 2024 and moving forward, is some different methods like that. This was the first year that we incorporated a health and wellness program for the fire department. And bringing in a yoga instructor in January, I really thought that I was going to be thrown out the door, right, for something like that. And the firefighters turned around and said, when can we have them back again? So it was a welcome addition. We did have another member that attended a one evening conference in Brandon that was regarding health and wellness, that was put on by a group that we actually brought here to speak to our folks. They are Project Resilience 911 out of Brandon. They were started by a group of Brandon City police officers and Brandon firefighters, and they've been doing this conference for 3 years now. So 3 other founding members came and spoke to our group on their project back in February or March, somewhere in there. And again, it's been very well received. The therapy dogs have visited as well, not only during the incident back in June, but one of them actually came back a couple of weeks ago and came by the fire station all the way from Winnipeg just to come out, touch base, and see how things were going. So we've been trying to assist that organization with starting a local therapy dog group, and we've offered the fire station for them for their testing, because all of the animals do have to go through a practical exam. Fortunately, they had 4 people that were initially interested. Unfortunately, 2 of those dogs have since passed. So they're looking to regroup and reconnect with the community, and I've suggested going beyond Dauphin and including the surrounding communities. So they're working on that poster campaign that we can get out to the public, and hopefully in the new year start a local therapy dog group through St. John Ambulance.
And just to piggyback on that, I'm very happy to see you continue to be involved in training internally and externally, and be involved nationally and as a representative of us, because every time you're involved, my philosophy is when you're involved in stuff like that, it comes back and it's good for us. But I would just continue to encourage you to do as much of that as possible and bring as much stuff here and training opportunities and other stuff, because I think that's a way to go, and I think it's good for us. It's good, I think, for you as a department, and it's just a positive thing. So
definitely allows us to grow, and even in the development of this pumper, we were able to explore in other people's fire stations. Mm-hmm. What have you got? What works? What doesn't work? And bring back that information. So right. It's one of the highlights, and keeps busy on the weekends, but it's not on the city's bill.
Last chance, folks, for questions for Fire Chief.
Thanks.
So again, thanks Cam, for coming, and keep up the good work, and keep posting your stuff, and wash that stuff. Yeah.
I did laundry yesterday. Thank you.
All right. Thanks very much. All right. Let me just find this. And so we'll move on to the next item, which is the consent agenda. And we have a number of items in the consent agenda. We have a proclamation regarding the International Day of Persons with Disabilities. And I think Councillor Ray has that to read.
Thank you, Mayor. Whereas the International Day of Persons with Disabilities has been commemorated since 1992 to promote action and raise awareness relating to the inclusion of persons with disabilities. And whereas the theme for 2023, United in Action to Rescue and Achieve the Sustainable Development Goals for, with, and by persons with disabilities, is about everyone working together to make the world better and fairer for people with disabilities. And whereas the City of Dauphin is committed to following best practices in ensuring our community is accessible, user-friendly, and inclusive of all people's needs in order to empower and create opportunities for all people living with a disability to enjoy and fully participate in society. Now, therefore, we, the Council of the City of Dauphin, do hereby proclaim December 3rd, 2023 as International Day of Persons with Disabilities. Dated the City of Dauphin, the Province of Manitoba, this the 27th day of November, 2023.
Thank you very much, Councillor Ray. The next item is the 2024 council meeting schedule. That's been distributed to all members of council. I don't think there's any issues or challenges with that. So if there are, we can have those discussions at some point, but I think that that's been laid out quite well for us. We have a number of filing items. The Association of Manitoba Municipalities Member Advisory regarding mental health supports and resources. We had the Age-Friendly Manitoba newsletter for November, the Mountain View School Division News Digest from November the 13th, and a conditional subdivision approval response from Community and Regional Planning. And those are all recommended by myself and our city manager. So moved by Councillor Daly, seconded by Councillor Ray. Be it resolved that all items listed in red under the item 5 consent agenda be approved and form part of these minutes. Questions or comments regarding this motion? All those in favor, please indicate. Anyone opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Thank you. Moved by Deputy Mayor Lachlan, seconded by Councillor Ray. Be it resolved that the finance accounts, having been examined by council, be authorized and approved as follows. We had 61 checks in our recent run for a total of $1,591,847.45. We didn't have any voided checks in the current range, but there was one voided check in a past range, and a fairly substantial one, from the Canadian Endure-Coat Corporation for $386,673.46. So I've been working with Scott and to ensure that all the paperwork is done and the check was canceled and a new check was issued. So that's all been looked after. So call for the question then on the finance report. Questions, comments? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Bellemare, seconded by Councillor Sobering. Be it resolved that council accepts as information the minutes from the following committees. We have the committee or the meeting from the regular board, meeting minutes from DNRC from November the 7th, and the Dauphin and Area Walking Committee Coalition, which had their meeting on November the 8th. Any questions or comments regarding the minutes or what was listed in the minutes from either of these organizations? Before we call for the vote, I just have a question. In regards to the Neighborhood Renewal Corp minutes, have we received other items that were indicated in the minutes but weren't attached, like the executive director's report or the financial report? Is that presented to us as part of these regular minutes or not? Ever? No? Okay, just wanted to know about that. Questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? Seeing none? Carried. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Ray, seconded by Deputy Mayor Lachlan. Whereas the government of Manitoba allocated up to $39 million to support strategic infrastructure projects in municipalities outside of Winnipeg, with funding made available under the $70.6 million Rural Strategic Infrastructure Basket delivered under the Strategic Municipal Investment Fund for 2023 and distributed on a per capita basis. Be it resolved that Council accepts as information correspondence dated November 21st from the Honorable Ian Bushy, Minister of Municipal and Northern Relations, advising that the Government of Manitoba is now depositing its promised $641,584.19 in infrastructure funding to the City of Dauphin as its per capita share of the Strategic Municipal Investment Fund. Further be resolved that Council accepts as information correspondence from Bruce Gray, Deputy Minister of Municipal and Northern Relations, an agreement between the Government of Manitoba and the City of Dauphin outlining the terms and conditions under which this $641,584.19 in per capita funding will be provided. Further be resolved that Council authorizes the infrastructure funding agreement with the Government of Canada to be signed and sealed by the City Manager on behalf of the City of Dauphin. Questions or comments regarding this motion? All those in favor, please indicate. Anyone opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Moved by Deputy Mayor Laughlin, seconded by Councillor Daly, whereas Manitoba Transportation and Infrastructure has requested that the City of Dauphin provide winter maintenance on the following roadways in Dauphin as part of our urban highway system. That's Main Street from Whitmore Avenue to River Avenue, River Avenue from Main Street to Valor Road, First Avenue Northeast from Main Street to Mountain Road, Second Avenue Northwest from Main Street to Second Street Northwest, the Service Road from Best Western to Right Side Equipment, and the Mall Service Road. Be it resolved that Council accepts as information a snow removal agreement between the Government of Manitoba and the City of Dauphin, specifying payment of $50,000 to the City of Dauphin to perform snow removal on the above-mentioned routes in 2023-24, and a memo dated November 24th from the Director of Public Works and Operations noting that this change in snow maintenance will greatly improve the winter condition of these arterial roadways and recommending that the agreement be approved. Further be resolved that Council agrees with the recommendations from the Director of Public Works and Operations and authorizes the snow removal agreement with the Government of Manitoba for the 2023-24 winter season to be signed and sealed by the City Manager on behalf of the City of Dauphin. Questions or comments regarding this memo? Or Mike, did you have any additional information you wanted to share? I'm seeing no questions. We'll call for a question. All those in favor? Oh, sorry, Kathy? Sorry.
No, I was going to say this is the third arrangement we've had since I've been a councillor for this. So eventually we'll get it right and get an appropriate amount of money and figure out who does the, what's going to work best. So I'm just happy to see that we've got a new agreement that we're going to try out.
Thank you, Councillor Bellemare. Any other comments? Seeing none, we'll call for the question then. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Daly, seconded by Councillor Sobring. Whereas Manitoba Hydro requires a resolution of council when a municipality requests the installation of street lights within their municipality, be it resolved that council accepts as information a memo dated November 21st from the Director of Public Works and Operations recommending the installation of 3 additional street lights, 2 on Ida Street between Whitmore Avenue East and Pioneer Avenue, and 1 on Pioneer Avenue between Jackson Street and Ida Street to improve lighting in these areas. Further be resolved that Council agrees with the recommendation from the Director of Public Works and Operations and requests from Manitoba Hydro the installation of 3 streetlights on Ida Street and Pioneer Avenue as specified above. Questions or comments regarding this resolution? Seeing none, call for the question. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? No one is opposed to lighting, which is great. Moved by Councillor Ray, seconded by Councillor Sobring. Be resolved that Council accepts as information City of Dauphin Travel and Expense Policy 2.3.4 and a memorandum dated November 10th from the Deputy City Manager noting that the policy has been updated to reflect the maximum cost of $200 plus applicable taxes per night for hotel accommodations and recommending that the revised policy be approved. Further be resolved that council agrees with the deputy city manager's recommendation and approves travel and expense policy 2.3.4. Questions or comments? Or Lisa, is there any background info you wanted to add, just that prices are going up?
Only that, yes, and with inflation, hotel costs are really going through the roof. So we just wanted to be sure that people are making economical decisions when booking hotels and put that cap on. And if there is a hotel for a higher price, then that needs to be reviewed by the city manager and the director of finance.
Fair ball, thank you. Questions or comments from council? All those in favor of this resolution, please indicate. Anyone opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Moved by Deputy Mayor Laughlin, seconded by Councillor Daly. Whereas the City of Dauphin employs surveillance in select public places to monitor assets, to deter crime, and to enhance public safety, and on March 27th of 2023, Council approved surveillance of public places policy 16.1 to establish clear guidelines and expectations for the collection and use of surveillance footage in public places within the City of Dauphin. And whereas with funding from the province of Manitoba's Criminal Property Forfeiture Fund, the city installed 10 new cameras and upgraded 7 existing cameras on city-owned properties. Be it resolved that council accepts as information surveillance of public places policy 16.1.1 and a memo dated November 20th from the Information and Communications Manager, noting that the policy has been updated to provide guidelines for the controlled access to surveillance data from entities operating in city-owned facilities and recommending that the updated policy be approved. Further be it resolved that council agrees with the ICT manager's recommendation and approves surveillance of public places policy 16.1.1. So we've all had a chance to review that and contribute to it. Any questions or comments regarding this resolution? Seeing none, call for the question. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? None. Motion is carried. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Daly, seconded by Councillor Ray, whereas the Northwest Métis Council is a community partner in operating the Sunshine Park Community Gardens, which contributes to food security in our community. Be it resolved that council accepts information request dated November 14th from Zachary Anderson of the Northwest Métis Council for a letter supporting their council in their grant application to Employment and Social Service Development Canada for the development of their program, Nourishing Our Communities to provide for our bodies, minds, and souls within Dauphin and surrounding communities. Further be resolved that council welcomes the introduction of additional food security and social inclusion services that will contribute to the health and well-being of all citizens, and authorizes a letter supporting the Northwest Métis Council in their grant application for this program. Questions or comments regarding this, Councillor Sobring?
Yeah, just one question. I just noticed they didn't itemize the amount of funding being requested. Is that something because it's a salary thing or?
Yeah, I'm not sure why they didn't provide that information. Charlotte, you didn't see anything?
Sometimes we get letters of support for entities applying for grants. We don't always get those details. So I don't know for sure. Okay.
Councillor Sobring, is that something you'd like us to find out or ask about, or?
No, I was at the presentation in summer, so I'm pretty familiar with the project. I'm okay with supporting it. I'm just curious why there was no item.
Okay.
So
Thank you. Yep.
up until recently, when we received requests for these letters of support, we would sometimes only get 1 or 2 lines with a request. So we did just recently standardize a form that people can access on our website. And we did that to try to identify the kind of information that we are looking for. So we do have it on there to specify the amount, hoping that people will include that. But in this case, that didn't occur, and sometimes it doesn't. But yes, we do have the form that kind of outlines that information that we do need.
And I'm just assuming as well that, and when we get requests like that, there's a look at it internally, and if it's kind of sketchy, whatever. If it's questionable, we may ask for more information or clarifications.
If we're unclear, then we definitely always ask questions.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Call for the question then. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Seeing none. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Sobring, seconded by by Deputy Mayor Loughlin. Be it resolved that council accepts this information and request dated November 24th from Bradley Kennedy, who is the coordinator of the Conservation Partnership of the Nature Conservancy of Canada, Manitoba region, for a letter supporting the Riding Mountain Biosphere Reserve funding application to Manitoba Habitat Conservancy for the Vermilion Park Revitalization Project to plant native trees and shrubs around the Vermilion Sportsplex. Further be resolved that council appreciates the opportunity to improve the riparian habitat around the Vermilion River and to provide enhanced public access to nature around the Vermilion Sportsplex, and authorizes a letter supporting the Riding Mountain Biosphere Reserve in their funding application to the Manitoba Habitat Conservancy to make this project possible. Questions or comments regarding this? I'd just like to state that I've had some conversations with Bradley Kennedy and other people at the Biosphere about this, and so they continue to bring funding opportunities to us. So these are things that we're not necessarily seeking out, and are just careful that on the back end there isn't a requirement beyond our abilities to fulfill it. But in this case, and in the couple that that Bradley has proposed, this is for a sort of natural and or native species that the whole reason they want to plant them is they don't need that much care. They're part of a natural environment. And so again, if we can get support from external sources, we're more than willing to take it. So call for the question. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Seeing none, carried. And just to piggyback on that, that is in consultation with DRS. So Ryan Vanderhayden has been involved in all of the discussions with Bradley and myself on any of these opportunities. So we're not going ahead with anything that DRS doesn't believe is good for them as well. Moved by Deputy Mayor Loughlin, seconded by Councillor Ray. Be resolved that council accepts as information the following invitation from the Mountain View School Division for their 2024-2025 budget preliminary consultations on December the 4th of 2023. Further be resolved that all expenses related to council and senior management attending this event be borne by the City of Dauphin. I don't think anyone's going to have to stay in a hotel for that night, right? So the new hotel policy won't kick in for that. Never mind. Distractions. All those in favor of this resolution? Anyone opposed? Seeing none. I'm doing this just to ensure that our people online are paying attention. And I see that Kathy is nodding, so she's not frozen. Great to see.
Okay.
Moved by.
I was just going to say, did we miss the bylaw, number 10? Just to let you know I'm paying attention. I printed out my agenda on Friday, so maybe it's been reordered.
No, let's do the reports and then we'll get that in resolution.
Okay. Pretty sharp there, Kathy, because it's not in this book, but we're going to go through the reports and then we'll come back to that. So moved by Councillor Daly, seconded by Councillor Stakilo, that we accept as information the council reports for the council meeting. So we'll have the reports first, and then we'll before we vote on the motion. So where do we go today? Ooh, where does the mayor want to? Councillor Sobring, are you ready to fire away? How about that?
Since the last meeting, which I was in attendance, I believe on the 6th of November, I've been busy with mostly the cemetery. Riverside Cemetery continues its work, and things are proceeding nicely. We had a meeting with the MANSEA organization, Manitoba Sustainable Energy Association, regarding it was a study, kind of a feasibility study to see about renewable energy and other projects and Dauphin's potential to see if there was a fit. And it was interesting, as it's a topic I have a lot of interest in. Other than that, that's all my meetings. And I was unable to attend the Parade of Lights, but I saw the pictures online and it looked pretty fun, and really Christmassy. So apologies to the other council and mayor that wrote on there and didn't get to hang out with me. So that's my report.
You were certainly missed, and the float was a little unbalanced without you on the other side. The Santa thing kept blowing over. I'm going to go after Deputy Mayor Laughlin next. We're going to go online to our two councilors and then finish up over here with the Hanson brothers. So, Deputy Mayor Laughlin, it's yours.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. For me, November 13th, regular council meeting here at City Hall. A few days later, we had an airport board meeting here at City Hall as well. And then 4 days after that, planning and priorities meeting here at City Hall. And as well at City Hall, last week on Thursday, we had a bit of a budgeting meeting for communities and Bloom. And of course, on the weekend, Saturday, took part in the Christmas Parade of Lights. I just want to congratulate the organizers on a great event. Over 50 floats, I believe, were entered there, and it was pretty cool to have it start snowing right when it started too. So that was nice. And just going on this week, looking forward to heading down to Brandon for the Association of Manitoba Municipalities fall convention. We have some meetings with some ministers. I won't say who and give that away, but it's exciting stuff. So looking forward to that here coming up starting tomorrow. And that ends my report.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Laughlin. You didn't indicate how you were the DJ of all DJs on the float on Saturday. So,
I only blew the speaker out twice.
Councillor Bellemare, you're next.
Okay, thank you. For council work on November the 15th, I attended the Protective Services Committee meeting, and we met with Acting Staff Sergeant Linklater and reviewed items from all our Protective Services parts that are within that portfolio. On November 20th, I chaired the Parkland Regional Library Board meeting, and we are working on various policies that need to be developed because the library is in a city building, city-owned building. That kind of lends itself to some policy development. So we've just passed an abuse policy. A workplace safety and health policy is under advisement. We've got surveillance of public places because some cameras have been installed in that building as well, and we need to know what the parameters are for that. On the 23rd, I attended a Riverside Cemetery HR meeting, and also on the same day, I was at the same meeting as Deputy Mayor Laughlin, where Communities in Bloom budget development and planning for next year meeting. And earlier today, there was a community safety and well-being teams meeting for the steering committee. And in terms of the community, because we're heading into Christmas season, just a reminder that every weekend from now on, there will be a community market happening somewhere, whether it's the Friendship Center or the Active Living Center or the Watson. And so those are being advertised in the Herald and CKDM and posters around town. So it's a great way to support local artists and crafters. And also, I'd like to welcome the new groundskeeper that we've hired at Riverside Cemetery. Rob Patterson started on November the 13th, and we're really excited that he has accepted the position. So we have two great employees that are working there and lots of plans, and looking forward to all the things that are going to be developing there. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Councillor Bellemare. Councillor Sticilo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For myself, my notes go back to October 30th council meeting, as I was absent for the November 13th council meeting. November 1st, there was a DRS board meeting. And then I was in attendance on November 11th at the Remembrance Day service. Just want to say thank you to staff and to all those organizers for that event that happens every year. It's always a quick turnaround at the facilities to get the facility ready and then taken down and ready for the next sporting events. So thank you for that. On November 16th, I chaired the airport board meeting. And then on November 22nd, we had a property standards meeting. This one was a little bit later than we usually do. And not in the event that we didn't want to hold the meeting. It's just been a bit of transition from Conrad, who is the outgoing bylaw officer to Darian. We got to meet Darian and got to hear what he was up to in the past few months, and there's been a lot of activity and a lot of things going on in the property standards and the bylaw side of things. So I just want to thank again Conrad for his work in that position, and really great to have Darian on board moving forward. And that ends my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Stakalo. Councillor Daly.
Thank you, Mayor Mosiak. On November 13th, I attended the regular council meeting. I missed the one on November 6th that Councillor Sobering said he was at. On November 15th, I attended the Protective Services meeting. November 17th, I was at City Hall for MLA Ron Custician's announcement on the proceeds of crime in our Cameron project, which is pretty nice to get up and running. Shout out to Justin Tokarczuk, too. Did a ton of work to get that up and running. November 20th, attended the PNP meeting here at City Hall. November 23rd, I met with our new municipal emergency coordinator, Conrad Demaria, to discuss the emergency plan as the approval date's coming up at the end of December. He's doing a real good job. Of course, the previous guy could never be beat, but he's holding up his end. November 24th, I attended my very first vet board meeting, and it's very interesting. I'm looking forward to working with that crew. November 25th, of course, I worked or participated in Parade of Lights. It's the 1.5 mile jog I had to do to catch up to. I hadn't seen our float for half an hour, 45 minutes. I was running through back alleys, parking lots, dark streets, trying to cut across to catch up to the 20-mile float. Meanwhile, passing candy canes to children. I hope they didn't lose an eye, but it was a lot of fun, and it was great. And I want to thank everybody who put that together. That was it was a hoot, but I didn't hear any of Deputy Mayor Laughlin's music because I wasn't there. That concludes my report.
Thank you for that very descriptive report, Councillor Daly. And Councillor Ray.
Thank you, Mayor Bosiak. November 13th, I attended the last regular council meeting. On the 14th, I was at Tim Hortons volunteering with the decorating of holiday smile cookies. November 22nd, I attended the property standards meeting. And I'd also like to welcome Darian Kruk into his new role. Being an ex-volleyball player of mine, I know he'll do very well in that capacity. That's right. And then in the afternoon on this 22nd, I attended the DART meeting held at the Provincial Building. November 25th, I took part in the Parade of Lights, handing out candy canes and, like Randy, unsuccessfully trying to keep up to the city float. This afternoon, I took part in the Community Safety and Wellbeing Zoom meetings with CMNCP. And just a reminder that this weekend, the DRCSS is hosting the AAA Provincial Volleyball Championships here at the Cup. They start on Thursday and playoffs are on Saturday. So good luck to both the boys and the girls teams. And we hope to see a big crowd out there to support them. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Councillor Daly. All right, that'll be Councillor Ray, because I'm still thinking about poor Randy running through the neighborhood looking for the float. I know that was very traumatic for you, Councillor Daly. Maybe stick with Councillor Ray next year. And thanks very much for those reports, everyone. I'd like to then call for the question. All those in favor of accepting the reports as presented? And opposed? Seeing none, carried. Councillor Bellemare, you'll be happy to know that this motion by Councillor Bellemare, seconded by Councillor Stakalo, on our 2024 fees, fines, and charges bylaw, be it resolved that bylaw 2023, being a bylaw of the City of Dauphin to describe fees, fines, and charges for municipal services be now read a first time. Questions or comments regarding this resolution? All those in favor, please indicate. Anyone opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Moved by Councillor Sobran, seconded by Deputy Mayor Loughlin, be it resolved that the council meeting be recessed at 5:50 PM. All those in favor? Thank you. Anyone opposed?